we are living in an apartment where the ground floor is a bar. They are churning out music the whole night. You can't do your homework, you can barely sleep. We are living on the first floor. The ground floor ni bar. That same area, thugs are coming to steal from this bar. And they are being gunned down by CID. Those days it was CID. And you're watching guns and fireworks happening. You're just a 10-year-old. Those things live with you.
Life is messy, beautiful, complicated. We juggle family, work, love, and its expectations. But sometimes we just need to talk about it out loud. This is that space. A place to laugh at the chaos, honor the challenges, and celebrate the wins, both big and small, where stories are shared, hearts are open, and no one is pretending. Authenticity is welcome here. So pour your tea and join me because there's a space and a seat here for every version of you. This is Conversations with Kũî. Hello, and welcome to Conversations with Kũî, a safe space for hard truths and radical vulnerability where we talk about the lives that we're actually living, not only the lives that we were taught to want. I'm your host, Dr. Kũî Mũraya, and today we're going to talk about healthy masculinity. What does that even mean? What does that look like? What does that embody? And with me today is Onyango Otieno, also known as Rick's Poet, also known as Rix, who has been a very vocal ambassador and advocate for healthy masculinity. And if you like, an alternative type of manhood, I dare say. So thank you so much, Onyango, for being on the podcast today. I'm so delighted to have you on the podcast. To help us talk about this topic and help us unpack it and understand it better. But also, I'm very excited because you and we have interacted severally virtually on social media and stuff like that. But this is the first time we're meeting in person. So it's really such a delight and a treat for me. But before we get into it, maybe you can tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
Well, a little bit.
Well, within reason.
Yeah, Onyango is the name, of course. I'm a poet, I'm a writer. I'm an artist. I tell stories around mental health, masculinities, sexual and reproductive health and rights. So my work is really in those intersections of masculinity, SRHR, and mental health. So facilitations, workshops, events, storytelling events, poetry gigs and stuff like that. My life really is just about getting people to be curious about their internal worlds.
I like that. Getting people to be curious about their internal worlds.
Yes.
Let's just start there. Tell me a bit more about that.
So I grew up a very observant child. There was a lot going on around me, but also inside me. And from what I gathered, my parents didn't understand what was going on inside me from how I started projecting a lot of the trauma responses I had as a kid. But then it wasn't just my parents. It was teachers in school. It was people I've worked with. It was seeing how other parents are, seeing how bosses, CEOs, administrations, governments look like. They don't understand what's going on inside people's heads. And so I became curious to see what's really going on in somebody's brain. How does a traumatized brain look like? These stories that end up creating or informing people's behaviors and patterns. What are they about? So that means it took me to the world of neuroscience, things I'm really passionate about. And space as well, in the sense that I want to understand what's happening in the universe and what's happening in my universe inside. And by virtue, how can I get that in the real world where now I want people to start exploring who they are beyond what they think they've always been, beyond what they've been taught to be, and beyond what they think they will ever be.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So we'll come back to that because I want to unpack that a little bit. And also you talked about, your trauma responses and there was a lot happening for you as a child. But I want to go back to something you said to me in a previous conversation. You said to me that when you were in your 20s, I believe, some years ago, in a previous life, some years ago, you participated in causing pain to women. I think I captured your words correctly.
Yeah.
And the fact is, or the reality is, at least from my perspective as a woman, now I speak as a woman, I do feel that there's many men in our society who do participate in causing pain to women. And we can unpack what pain looks like and the types of pain, right? Why do you think that is? Why do you think that men cause pain to women? Is it just a case of hurt people hurt? You haven't dealt with your own trauma response or you're hurting others, or what really is happening there?
If you asked many men, they wouldn't tell you they cause men to women. They cause pain to women. Okay. They wouldn't tell you that. Mm-hmm. But of course, it's the case of, like you're saying, hurt people hurt others, and yet it's also pretty more nuanced than that, because we're living in a patriarchal world, and in a patriarchal world, the man has been conditioned to center himself as what is right or the law or what there is before any other person. So by that virtue, you think by virtue of just you being a man, you are already right, right? If that is a world where our imagination of God takes the shape of a man, you can imagine what that means to other men who embody this authority thing. So there are not enough checkers or structures that keep men accountable for their actions. And if that is a life you're growing up with, watching other men living it, you subconsciously just take after it, to the point that violence against other men, violence against children, violence against yourself, violence against women has been normalized. If that is happening and you're watching it in your developmental stage as a child, you just take after it. It becomes a pattern, because the brain is, if you think of a computer is nothing without an operating system. And you can change operating systems in computers, and the brain is just similar. It's just a programming machine. The programs you put into it is what it gets out. So when they say garbage in, garbage out, it's right there for you. So for men, the conditioning has been dehumanizing to them, but they're not aware of that for most parts. But then, because they are also really hurt by this very patriarchal system from the beginning, which starts off by cutting off their emotional tanks from very early on in their boyhood. They end up projecting a lot of those frustrations without having a language for it, but it comes out in violence. Yeah.
I really hear you, because I think one of the struggles I have as someone who works in the gender equity space is that I feel a lot of men don't realize just how much patriarchy hurts them also and dehumanizes them, because it's always been presented as like a competition of the sexes. It's like women against men, this sort of thing. Let's talk a bit more about that, because I want someone who's listening to you, and a man especially, but even women, because a lot of women are very complicit in perpetuating patriarchy. But let's focus on the man today. I want a man listening to you to really understand how patriarchy has caused them harm. Even if we don't center the woman in this conversation, how has patriarchy caused them harm? How does patriarchy dehumanize them also? And then also, what can they do different?
So you see, for many men, the first ever abusers they experienced were their fathers. For many men, and mothers who have also internalized the misogyny, where you hear, your mother tells you, "You're not supposed to be in the kitchen. Men are not supposed to be here." or nimekuchapa na unaangalia na sija kuchapa, and they've already beaten you up, sometimes senselessly. And in many other quarters, it's the way boys are disciplined from early on. It's quite physical from a very early age. And you're already treated as though you're a criminal in the way this discipline is being administered to you. And it doesn't stop. You go to school, the teachers are on you. You go to high school, it gets worse because
there's
now
bullying, lots of bullying
the bullying
there.
from other students and the administration as well. But if you take a bird's eye view of it, it's very similar to how white colonialists treated black men. It's very similar because when you look at a boy who has been termed as indisciplined, the way he's talked to, the way he is punished is very, very colonial reminiscent. So that's patriarchy, and it is meant to make you feel small, and in turn, boys just do it to girls. They want the girls to feel small because they themselves feel small.
Yeah.
I remember watching an interview from back in the day by Toni Morrison, and she said something that really stuck by me. And it was in connection to racism, but then you could pretty much put it anywhere. And she said, if you have to feel strong when somebody else is on their knees, then you have a serious problem. And that goes for everywhere where power is weaponized.
I love that quote so much. Just say it again.
Yeah, if you have to be strong when somebody else is on their knees, then you have a serious problem. So I had to take a look at myself and what's going on around me and inside me and ask, because, by virtue of the fact that I grew up in these systems, definitely I also embodied some behavioral patterns that, were I learned from it. But I had to ask myself, why is it, for example, that, say, because these things most times will show up in relationships. Why is it, for example, that when my partner brings up something that they are not happy about, I react this way? Why is it that I have this thing that I want to manipulate this person? Because I did have those tendencies when I was younger. What is that really about? Why do I fear being seen as a human being in my truth? Why is it? Where is that coming from? And when I looked back, I was like, in my home, I did not have space to be a child. I was supposed to act like an adult in a house, in a home where I'm just 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, barely know myself. The people I'm living with have very many life frustrations. Many times they are projecting them on me, but it's in different forms. So if my mom is angry, she will shout and, just bicker and and sometimes come and try to read my diary, get to try to be in my business and all that. And my dad wasn't even concerned about CG what I'm writing on my journals and anything. But when he's unhappy about me in a thing, the way he would beat me up would be like he's trying to kill a snake. From throwing me on walls to stomping my head with his feet to burning my hands to it was insane.
That is insane.
It was
Not
insane.
It is insane.
It was insane.
Yeah.
And I'm also trying to understand why does he always try to have the upper hand over mom? But then it wasn't him alone. It was men in my community. It was the men I was watching on TV on these soap operas from the 90s, from The Bold and the Beautiful to Santa Barbara to
Hello.
Neighbors. It was just the same thing. Men are very similar people, both black and white, actually.
Yeah.
In media. But then towards my teenage years now, the responses are starting to show up. I'm starting to fall into depression, but we don't know that's depression.
We don't even have the language
There's
for it.
nothing like it.
Yeah.
And, I'm starting to run away from home, sleeping in the streets in Nairobi, shoplifting from supermarkets, being beaten up, mob justice, surviving all that stuff.
Wow.
I am shouting for help, but nobody's listening. They're just looking at this as you're just another stubborn teenager.
Mtoto mtukutu. Mtoto sumbua.
We ni sumbua too. And the farthest they went, because I really persisted, was now to take me for prayers. It's taken to some dingy ass place, huko hivo in Kibra. I'll never forget, my friend. There's a place there. I think it's called Karanja. There's a place in Kibra called Karanja or something. I don't know. And they had all these women lined up outside. They were queuing to come and kuombewa, prayers. And of course, there were a few men, but it's always women going there,
Yeah.
And we get inside and they have all this incense and these tall guys with robes and some crazy paraphernalia on their necks and whatnot. And this guy walks up to me and, he looks at me. He had this assistant, shorter guy that had a bowl that had like transparent just water. And he comes to me and he looks at me and it's like akaniuma hapa. Ananiuma hapa, alafu ananiuma hapa, and then he...
Na meno.
Yeah. Like my race, he's her and then her.
Yeah.
And then
So he beats both
yeah,
races.
then he spits out what looks like sewage water onto the bowl. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And then he bites my head.
So, and all this is to try and make you to be a good child.
To correct me, to make me straight and whatnot. So now they end up saying, this is witchcraft from shags and whatnot, because my dad is coming from a polygamous home and whatnot.
Okay.
But then I didn't stop wanting to run away. Even after they got their decisions from the prayer man.
Yeah.
I still hated home.
Yeah.
I had a lot of grievances against my parents.
Yeah.
See? But then, being that they are firstborns in their homes, there's that power thing that their siblings couldn't tell them certain things.
Yeah.
And I'm also a firstborn. So I have nowhere else to go, nobody else to talk to.
In fact, people are looking up to you to
People are looking up to, you need an example.
You need to be an example. And right now you're being a very bad example.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I was like, actually, the way things are going, I need to be comfortable with being a bad example, or else I'll die.
So I want to pause there, because how do you even make that decision when this is in your teenage years, right?
Yeah.
I mean, for a teenager to say, because as a teenager, speaking for myself, I was just lost, confused, trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Because, I've always also been a bit of the black sheep in my family. But at that point, I certainly, to make that decision, I made that decision much later on in life that, what, I'm actually okay with being the black sheep, and it's fine. I no longer think I'm the black sheep. I think I'm the black lioness, for listeners who are listening. But I'm just wondering, as a teenager, how do you even come to that decision of, I'm actually just going to be okay with being a bad example? That just seems so deep for someone that young.
Yeah, well, I had a strong sense of self from a very young age. I was a quiet boy, so you wouldn't tell, And I think that's one of the reasons why my parents really struggled to read me. What's wrong with this boy? Yeah. And yet I've been observing things since I was a child. I'm just looking at how you people are acting in this house and how you're treating me, how you're handling emotions, the work, relationship, everything. In school, how teachers are behaving. I'm just watching. I'm watching. By the time I'm a teenager, I know how I'm supposed to be treated as a human being. I know that. I was very aware, I just didn't have the language to do and the space to say this. So I remember this is 2004. Now I'm 16 years old. and I ran away for the first time. It was around the time Sean Paul was coming to Kenya. It was like in April. They find me. The second time I walked from, because we lived in Lolongo, we had a house there. I walked from Lolongo to town, stayed like a street kid for like a couple of, like a week or something. Then I was found. And the next time now was the same year. Then I wanted to go and die by suicide in Mombasa. It's a long story. Clearly, it didn't go through.
Yeah.
But then I remember like this anger kept building up and building up and building up. And I'm feeling so helpless. And I'm telling myself, is there any reason to stay here if I'm misunderstood by the people who ought to be protecting me?
And to love you.
And to love me.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that I started finding love outside my home from strangers. These were my friends who were also teenagers, who had calmer, safer homes. These were, people I was dating even at that young age, whose families welcomed me in their homes. And I was like, which world is this where people are just loved just for being kids? I was like, what? It's even possible? You see, it's so utopian for me. And so that's what radicalized me, that kumbe love is actually possible. Yani, you're telling me it's possible for my father to love me or my mom to be calm with me. Like, these are possible things. I'll show you guys. I will show you. So I didn't relent. And it was about the same time that also my political consciousness is starting to grow. So, I mean, I grew up on a lot of hip hop back in that time. And it was just about the time that this hip hop group, Koflani Mau Mau, was also really like up there. And I remember feeling like, say, you could love DMX, but then Kalamashaka are speaking Sheng, and you get what they're saying. And they're talking about Huruma and Gay. These are places I've grown up in Dandora. Like, I've seen there. I know these things.
You can relate.
I can relate, And I'm like, oh, wow, like, this is my poetry now. This, I have purpose now. I can speak up, actually, because these guys gave me the language to actually say things the way I wanted to say them. And not only am I talking, like, worried about what's going on at home, it's also like what I'm watching in the news about violence and chaos, Around the same time, John Garang dies in a helicopter crash. They said they knew who killed him. Won't go into that today. But I'm starting to ask questions about the politics of our home and the politics of outside, like what I'm seeing with government and power dynamics and what's not.
But I'm just wondering, Onyango, like, to me, it's just amazing that as a teenager,
I've been brilliant for a long time.
Clearly. Look, listen, you are amazing and brilliant. Because I'm just like, as a teenager, I was not thinking about these things. But also, I should say, I wonder if also the environment you grow up in sometimes forces you to grow up quick. Because I had a lot of safety growing up. Yeah. I had a lot of love growing up. So maybe that's why... But I don't know. I still just feel you were pretty brilliant for a teenager.
Kũî, I'll give you a short example. Huruma Estate was crazy with crime in the 90s. And we are living in an apartment where the ground floor is a bar. They're churning out music the whole night. You can't do your homework. You can barely sleep. We are living on the first floor. The ground floor ni bar. That same area... thugs are coming to steal from this bar and they are being gunned down by CID. Those days it was CID. And you're watching guns and fireworks happening. You're just a 10-year-old. Those things live with you. Yeah. You're seeing a mental health, like somebody with a mental illness running around naked in the evening, the whole time, like butt naked. There's a lot of chaos around you. And there is chaos also happening in your home. Because your parents are fighting bare knuckle, corner to corner in a single room, like even this room is big, So everything is like right there on your face like this, you know. You're forced to either question it or you become that thing. I didn't want to identify with violence. It really, it has refused me, you know?
That was so deep. Just that bit of, because I have always wondered, you will sometimes see people who grew up, say, in a violent home. Let's just use the home, not even the external bit. The outcome will be one of two things from my observation. Either they will become that, or they will be the complete opposite of that. So I loved what you just said, that when you grow up in that kind of space, just repeat the way you said it.
Yeah, you either grow out of it or you become it.
Yeah.
You
question it and grow
you either
out of
question
it,
it or you become it. And majority
and
of
violence
people,
has refused you.
No, I just like.
Why do you think it has refused you? Why is it not refusing other men?
I didn't like how it felt watching my mom being brutalized. It didn't feel nice. It didn't feel nice also because I didn't think it was a fair thing to happen. And I remember the helplessness I felt watching that, because I'd get into their fights and I'm thrown out. They would break everything. They would hold knives against each other. There was a lot of blood and all that stuff. And I was also being beaten. So I knew what it's like to be beaten.
So for a young person or let's say a young man who's watching this or listening to this, either who's experiencing it now or has experienced it but hasn't managed to break out of it as you did, what can they do? Because I just think this is so phenomenal that
the real answer is gonna take 50 years to really get out, but it wasn't easy either for me.
Okay.
Because, and this is where I will say I'm incredibly privileged. Yes, that was an insane environment. Yes, I was really having it rough, but I was still privileged in some senses, right? My dad was a teacher. He taught in really good schools. I was going to those schools. I was starting to be exposed to a different life. See? Because I grew up with those years, members of parliament, their kids, I was going to those kind of schools, and sometimes they're inviting you to their homes. Man, because I remember we used to stay in Riruta. Riruta is just coinciding with Kawangware, and your classmate is in Lavington. They stay there. So I used to walk from Riruta, nenda Kawangware. Maze unapata mse wamepika chipo lunch. Wako na microwave, wanapika chipo lunch. Chipo!
Sikuchekelei. Nacheka na wewe. I'm laughing with you, not at you.
Who are these people?
Who eat chips for lunch?
They have 2 TVs in their house.
And
what are you talking about?
Chips for lunch.
Chips for lunch. Chipo.
And they have a microwave.
Yenye wewe kwenu ilikuwa yani, it is like Jesus has come back. What? Auntie yako amekuletea chipo. Man, you could lick their toes. Yeah. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
See, I say they're just cooking for lunch it's just some ugali meal, you know?
Yeah.
So it was a very different world. And, people have CU3 CD changers in their homes, and they have all these wall, art on their walls, and they have these nice, comfortable couches.
But do you think that helped you aspire to something even greater? Because I remember, I think it was, I can't believe I've forgotten his name. This South African comedian who I love so much. Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
I think it was Trevor Noah who said something to the effect of, we tell people to dream, or we expect people to dream, but you can only dream so much if your environment is a particular
100%.
thing. So do you think it gave me,
because for a very small example, I grew up on Rumba and Lingala music. That's what, was available on KBC.
Yeah.
But it's also what my dad loved listening to, which was something we bonded on. Then I get to Makini School, and there is something called CG Soft Rock, ati R&B. And so when we were closing school, they would allow you to come with like Walkman and like your Discman and whatever and radios, and you'd play music. So me, I used to carry my cassette for Awilo Longomba because I'm showing these people where I'm from, and I dance over there and they would just be mesmerized by everything that was going on. And then now I'm being introduced to Shaggy and Eminem, and I'm like, it's a totally different world.
Yeah.
So indeed, that exposure does give you an idea of a different world out there. Yeah. And visiting these people's homes as well, because, man, like my first time in Runda in 2002, I could not believe these are Kenyans I'm living with in the same country. Like my classmate is living in such a house. Man, I'm like, we are supposed to get the same grades. Like we are competing.
Yeah.
It does not make sense.
Yes.
You see? So I was internalizing all these things at the same time. I'm like, and they were also like really kind people to me, like my classmates for most parts.
Yeah.
And that's the privilege I had to be exposed to a new imagination beyond the environment I was living in.
Correct.
So while I stayed in Riruta, my head was like, oh, it's actually possible to live in Lavington. And these cars, these discoveries and the BMWs that are coming to pick these kids, like, that's a world that does not just live on TV. Like people actually, I could touch those cars. Yeah, Maze, it was just something,
It can be my reality.
It can be my reality.
Yes.
But still, like, it didn't look that strong an image. It just gave me an alternative. And that's the thing that told me there's more to life. I always told myself that.
What about that young man who doesn't have that, but is in the same chaos that you described earlier?
So I would say, man, like, first of all, you're a victim to something that is not really about you. You're not the person who caused what's going on around you, whether it's poverty, whether it's violence, whether it's the way you've been conditioned. The information, the education you have of yourself as a man is not something of your choosing for most parts. And that even with the little I had, the little exposure I had, I still had to really, really push myself. Really push myself to get out of that thing. Because that thing sticks in your blood like I don't know what, It's in your subconscious. You do it automatically, There was this movie that was starred by Justin Timberlake. I think it's called In Time. They have this, there are two worlds. A world where people are poor and there's a world where people are rich. And your lifespan is determined by the time you have. All right. So if you go to work, they pay you by time. Right. And if you're going to like a hospital, for example, or you buy something, you buy using your time. So you have very little time on your hands, the poorer you are. And so the people who are poor used to run all the time because they really didn't have enough time. They were used to like hurrying, doing things very quickly because they always had little time. But so there was some guy who was like one of the characters who was Justin now, managed to get to the other side. He got some time from somebody who came to this poor side, and this person gave him a lot of time. So when he went to the rich side, he was also always in a hurry. And people there could see, huyu si wa huku, huyu hajazoea huku. And then he goes there and then he just learns the system and how, and he realized these are also just people. Like they're not any special more than us. And so that's the message I would maybe term to that young man, that we are just people. And it's systems that have been placed here to control you, to make you become a certain way, that are manifesting in your life. It's really not even just about you. You could want to be very many things. So as for me, I started now like reaching out. I want to go where people, because I loved literature. I start like going out to libraries. I want to read books. I want to understand the world. I'm meeting up with like fellow artists. I want to understand like what's really happening in my brain. Because I remember even when I was young, I used to like open my dad's radio. I want to see what's really going on inside here. I'd open the TV and I want to like connect an extra speaker because I can't feel this speaker nicely. Like I was always curious. And so as I'm growing up, like my bandwidth is also growing. You have to be curious about what's going on inside you. If you never ask yourself that question, who am I? Why am I the way I am? Don't just end up saying, me, I'm just like this. No, that system has already won over you. But if you ask the questions like, why do I react in certain instances to certain stimuli?
Correct.
Why do we have this perception about gay people or religion
or women,
and other men who I deem poorer than me? Why and why do I have to look up to rich men like this? Why am I acting this way?
And that's a powerful one. Like, why do I have to look up to like rich men? But I like that you gave up like some practical things someone can do. I think the first thing is what you said. Be curious about yourself and start asking questions of yourself. Because I've also had to go through that journey of like, well, why do I think that? Why do I think this? Why do I, like I started questioning a lot of the things I was told when I was growing up, even like in our context. Why do I think a Luo should be my enemy just because I'm a Kikuyu? There's so many people who go around
it's automatic.
It's automatic. And then if you ask them, but why? You what has a Luo person done to you yourself? They can't even answer that.
There's always nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. So for me, I think that curiosity about self is a very good starting point, because then it helps you. Now you start actively seeking out, like you're like, I want to broaden my knowledge. I want to understand myself better. I want to go to the library, I want to, all these things, like I want to relate with people who help me understand myself better. So I think having that curiosity of self is a very good starting point. Yeah.
When I was 12 years old, like when you've closed school, you guys are playing at home a lot and everything. So, I remember like there was this incident where Michael, who was one of my friends, he ganged up with some guys and they came up where I was, like we were just playing with other kids, and they were like, nani amesema anakuweza. The way boys just psych each other up and everything.
From nowhere.
Hey, nani amesema anakuweza? Tunataka kuona nani first body hapa, And I had never fought anybody in my life. At 12 years old, what do you know, And I'm so lucky also that I had never really been bullied prior to that. Also because I was such a good footballer. So I was sort of I had charisma, even as quiet as I was. I had some kind of...
I can see that about you. Even
from my dad. Dangerous man, but yo. So I'm like, where is this from? Like, so-and-so is my friend. Like, I've never thought of fighting him to show him how strong I am, or vice versa. Yeah. They insist, you guys have to fight. You guys have to fight. So we go to some abandoned nursery school that was just like, like ruka some fence and nini. Then we go there, and then I start fighting this guy. From nothing, like you look for anger from somewhere, and then you just start fighting. But then Koi, I found myself strangling. This guy, I was in Konamnyonga. Yeah. And I was like, what am I doing? Yeah. And I came back to my senses. And I vowed to never fight anyone unless it's in self-defense. I vowed to myself. Because my body was screaming at me, no. You're not doing right by you. Yes. What is this? Yes.
And that's important. By you.
By you.
Even you're not doing right by you.
Because I could just see like flashes of my mom and dad fighting. They were just in my head, And I'm like, it didn't feel nice. What am I doing here? So of course, you boys, you wake up and mnagoteana, and then it's over with, and you forget about the thing, and you're hanging out again.
Yeah.
But then that was a very pivotal moment in my life, because I actually really realized what violence does to a person. The person who's the perpetrator and the victim. I realized, I could see, I was 12 years old. And because I've been brilliant for a long time.
Yes, you have. Indeed.
I could really decipher, this is not a life I want to live. No. I just decided with myself. And so I looked like I was a stranger in my home and in my family and the extended family. I always really looked different because I'm asking the hard questions and I'm going to my uncles and I'm telling them, man, this guy is killing us at home. Hata sisi tulichapwa, itabidi tu umezoea. You know? And I was like, you guys, okay. So these days, I talk against them on TV and I told them, mutaniona, mpaka ile siku mtaacha kupiga mabibi zenu. You will see me everywhere. Yes. You will not like me and I don't care about that. Yeah. But your children who look up to me as their elder cousin because I'm a firstborn in my home will see somebody who actually cares. You know, and that it's possible to actually live in a home where people treat each other like human beings. Yeah. So after all that, post-election happens, 2007. And now I'm turning 18, I'm finishing my Form 4. And, you know, that violence that rocked this country shook the continent, not just Kenya. And it's the first time I'm seeing Boniface Mwangi on TV. He was a young fella. But I remember that documentary, even the piano instrumental. I remember everything, the way he was saying he was taking pictures of kids dying in Huruma and whatnot. And I almost lost an uncle as well in the clashes in Naivasha. We saw him on TV being clobbered. We thought he had disappeared. We were looking for him and everything. And that too did something to my head. Now, the figures of authority who are sort of, like presidential candidates were men. They're always men. And I'm starting to look at how, government oppression is it's mirroring the oppression in my home. I'm like, there's something
You're like, this thing is at all levels.
Yeah, they're very similar. They're, intersectionalities. Yes. And I'm like, something is going on here. Yeah. So by the time 2007 was happening, I had already been to a protest the previous year when I was in Form 3. And it was a time when John Mishuki was a minister. If you remember this line where he said that if you rattle a snake, be prepared to be bitten by it. This was 2006 when they stormed into the Standard newsroom.
I remember that story.
And wakachoma magazeti on Mombasa Road and everything. And Kina Raila organized for a protest just outside I&M when KTN was at I&M. So I didn't go to school that day. I went to the protest because now I had also I wanted to be a journalist. And so you can't gag the media. I'm here, But in real sense, I was really speaking up against oppression because I knew it from home. So the next year, the violence happens. And then I see Boniface Mwangi and I was like, oh, so I'm not alone. A person who can see the violence and wants to speak against it, because there's somebody else somewhere who understands. And not in my wildest dreams did I ever think I would ever meet Boniface. But then I keep telling, you doing this documentary validated me a lot as a teenager, And so by that time I was already writing poetry. I was doing music and I was rapping and all about oppression and violence and whatnot. And, one thing led to the other. And by the time I was, say, 28, I fell into depression again and became public with it. And
why did you choose to go public with it?
So I had already been writing about my life around domestic violence and whatnot. So I wasn't afraid of speaking up. I was already speaking up. In fact, for me, when I discover something about myself, I like sharing. Yeah, so I just wrote it, But by the time then also, writing has been the safe space for me since I was a teenager. So I felt like if I don't say something, I might harm myself because I was thinking of suicide. Then I put out this long Facebook post and it went viral in early 2017. That's one of the pivotal moments that also changed my life in my own journey with masculinity, because then I'm learning for the first time, people are carrying a lot of shame around mental health.
100%.
I didn't know that.
100%. Both women and men, but I feel more so men.
Yeah, I didn't know that. It's not a world I was into. Then now I start connecting the dots, because now when I got into therapy, connecting the dots around the violence I was witnessing and experiencing as a child with my mental health issues. Like, something is going on here. I don't have this education. What can I do? I'm trying to look for African stories around mental health. There was barely anything. We had a wonderful lady here called Sitawa Wafula, who was doing some mental health advocacy at the time. But she felt like she was just one person in the sea of, silence,
Which can be very isolating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Those first advocates really had it rough. And so I'm like, my male friends rallied around me and they really helped me through it. I usually say I was loved out of depression, because these guys would come home, they would wash my house, they would do my laundry, they would cook for me.
But I'm just like, who are these your male friends? 'Cause, the truth is you do
100%.
not hear this story a lot. In fact, a man talking about this story most likely to be like, my female friends came through for me. Because you can't, first of all, you can't even tell your male friends that you're going through this thing. And then even when you tell them, probably they'll be like, they're like.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, because I've told you this before, I have nephews who I love dearly and they're younger. And I'm like, I want that to be their world, where if they're going through a problem, they've surrounded themselves with male and female friends, but especially male friends who can carry them through, not shame them, not stigmatize them,
Yeah.
Yeah. Or not tell them, let's just go away, just drink some beers and you'll be fine, or let's find you some girls and you'll be fine, or something like that. So who are these people? Where did you get them from?
So before I get to them, I have always had amazing male friends since I was a kid. Fantastic. I can go back and I can name them one, but I remember them because they were people who were there with me. And there's a research that said that when boys are younger, they have very intimate emotional friendships with each other. Like they roughen each other up, they hold hands, they hold each other's bodies, they do all that. But that starts disappearing towards their teenage years when now the patriarchy is now really snatching them. They are in between childhood and adulthood, and you just go back to what every other man is doing. But with me, because I refused to enter into the violent world, I stayed kind, I stayed calm, I stayed gentle, and it made me get attracted to other gentle boys.
And you've said it right. I feel you attract what you are.
Yeah,
you do
in some ways. Yeah.
Yes.
So there were. in a class setting, you can always pinpoint somebody you can relate to.
Yes.
So I was relating to the quieter people, the quieter boys who also felt like they could relate to me. And because, of course, of say my footballing capabilities and my writing capabilities, it earned me a lot of friends. And, I was also really good with solving people's problems from a very young age because, again, you're watching it happening at home and you can see your parents' issues. So, you have a lot of insights about conflict. So those things sort of made people really get drawn to me because of my gifts. And also because really as far as I can remember myself, I've never been a loud person. Even with the human mistakes I've made in my life and everything, I like talking through things. There's conflict, let's talk through things. And my general demeanor, I'm really my spirit is very chill.
Yeah. Very surprising to me, but yes, I agree. I expected different.
Yeah. So there is an element of safety people feel around me.
Yeah.
And I've been very intentional with that is because I didn't feel safe as a child in this world. And so I was for me to experience this thing, I have to embody it. I understood that as a 15-year-old, I got it, you know. And so I've been very blessed that in all that chaos I was experiencing, there were pockets of really amazing male friendships that carried me through those years. In fact, I used to talk to my guy friends about what's happening at home, and I was 15, I was 16, I was 17, you know. I had boys to talk to. So with this group of boys, I was around 22 years old. I've just joined Daystar University. I'm studying communications there. And in between that, I'm dropping out because there's family instability at home. My parents are fighting a lot. They can't continue paying my fee. There's a family business they're fighting. Like dad is fighting mom on and whatnot. So everything is just disintegrated. And so these boys, I met one of the guy who brought us all together. I met him in campus. And his father was a pastor. Okay. So he formed a Bible study. Or we formed a Bible study. And so we'd meet in their house. So their dad allowed us to meet in their house. So I remember those first days. So he's the one who knew everybody else. So he called us together. Anchor. He was the anchor. And sometimes when I look at him, I think he also really played that both big brother and almost father figure kind of thing, because their house was like that anchoring place for all of us. And his dad was also one of those endearing pastors you have out here. So those first Bible study sessions, you know, you're coming with your Bible and you're opening this book and that book and you're discussing. But then as we are going along, we are realizing all of us had problems with our fathers. All 5 of us had, including him. The guy, yeah. Yes. You know, there were issues. There were issues. And you know, maybe mine sounded more like blockbuster movies because we used to laugh on them. We used to because every week we were meeting, there's an episode that has happened at home and they were just weird, crazy things. So someone else had not seen their father since they were 15. So they are all that. Yeah,
there's a lot of that.
You know, pain, just a lot of pain and anger and everything. So then we designed this thing that before the Bible study begins, we ask each other how our week has been. And that's where the magic is.
These 5 young men.
Yeah, 23 years old, yeah.
22 years old, so thereabouts.
Yes.
You start off by just asking, I hear guys can't even tell each other good night, get home safe. It's a thing. Yeah. Now you guys are how are you?
Yeah. Wow. And of course, there was that Christian foundation. Yeah. And, you know, even in Christianity, much as I'm not practicing anymore, there were those values which I usually say every healthy society should have them, whether there's religion or not.
Yes. It's just a way of living.
Yes. And because many of us really come from really a lot of broken homes, there's some of these values we learn them from the church, if you're lucky. But then it's your heart really that is doing the work, you know. The religion is there, but it's your heart that is doing the work. So I was again very, very lucky that these 5 young men were looking forward to do something better with their lives. They wanted to express themselves and they didn't know what to do. And then all of a sudden there is a safe space to say things. And it's with other men like them, their peers, who understand the plight of my dad. You know, you can't just say that anywhere else. And we didn't know what we were doing, to be honest with you. These are things now that we are talking in reflection, what the hell was that, you know? But then when my parents are fighting at 2 a.m., because those years we didn't have WhatsApp, so we had private Facebook groups. So that's where you'd write your shenanigans and somebody else is just there comforting you and, you know, cheer up. When I don't have money to go to Bible study, somebody sends you 50 shillings, just show up. When we are planning for a trip to Mombasa and somebody can't afford the fare, tunachanga so that everybody can come. that's for me, the first time I'm learning actually, love is possible and it's sustainable in a community. It's more sustainable in a community. And these brothers, when now I am falling down into depression, they didn't know what this thing was. They saw my Facebook post and, everybody just came home to my aid. And they could tell something is off with me. Of course, because they had a background of my life. So they definitely understood life has been overwhelming for me. They just did what brothers will do.
And for me, it's so striking that it wasn't important for them to really understand this depression thing. All they knew is our boy is down and he needs our help.
We've got to show up for him.
And we're going to show up.
Yeah, this thing, we'll understand it if we'll understand it. But for now, haizi jipikia, tutampikia. Haizi fungua curtains, tutakuja tumfungulie curtains. Tutamosha nguo.
So powerful. So powerful.
And it humbles you. It humbles you in a way, like in my life, even when I was running away from home and it's like people taking me in their homes and everything, I've just really been taught the importance of kindness, especially to people you don't know. Because before I could learn that it's possible for love to happen in the home, I learned it outside home. And even with these boys, we created a home for ourselves, like this space thing, and it makes your heart bigger. You sort of have a lot of grace for humans, because many of us are struggling with things that nobody knows about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So even when like those Twitter boys are bullying me and saying crazy things, which we can get to some other time.
No, I do want to talk about pushback because I have seen the pushback that you get on Twitter.
It's the DMs that really rock the boat because sometimes somebody is bullying you here, but then they're asking you for money, they're asking you for sex.
Ooh.
Yeah. Or something really heavy they've been struggling with. That they realize, you're not breaking down even after all this violence we're putting on you. Like, where uko tu? Yeah, I'll wake up and I'll record a video of me dancing on my boxers and life continues. You say what you want to say. I know what I've been through. I know what it took to liberate my body, liberate myself. I'm still on that journey in many ways. But then I'm here once. Literally, you're here like view once. Like you dab and then you're gone. Haikuji.
Yeah.
Hakuna software itasema wacha nione hii picha tena. You're gone. You know, you're responsible for how you live your life. You're really responsible for it. And so if you always want to bend to the systems that you got here, to be a good man in the definitions of those systems.
In the definition, of the system, yes.
Good luck with that.
Yeah.
I'm opting out. See? Yeah, so, I got out of depression eventually, and then that's when I began like mental health advocacy. That depression got me questioning everything. It was like this dark room where photographs are being made. And I asked myself, whoa, why am I a Christian? Why am I using my English name? Why do I want to be married? Why do I want kids? Relationships. Why have I been showing up in this way and that way and that way and that way? Everything like ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. And then therapy now was helping me fill in the blanks. Like, oh, there's this PTSD. Oh, grandpa. Oh, grandpa was this. My grandpa actually was a war veteran. He fought for the British Second World War in Burma, which is now called Myanmar. And when he came back, definitely he was messed up mentally.
And there was nothing support system or help.
Worse off for African soldiers.
100%, yeah.
It was bad for white soldiers. You can imagine how
much
worse.
Yeah.
And that was crazy PTSD. And these are stories I get from other grandchildren of these soldiers who tell me crazy stories about them. So for my grandpa, he ended up depending on alcohol, but also was really violent, was very violent. Ended up having 30 kids with 3 wives. 2 of them were sisters. And there was a lot of anxiety in that home, most definitely.
And is this the home your father was raised in?
Yes, and neglect and pain and misunderstandings and egos all over the place. That's not a place to nurture a child and expect them to do well in life. So he just transferred this to his family.
Exactly.
That's all he knew.
Yeah. There's a whole topic there around generational,
intergenerational,
trauma and intergenerational. Yes.
So when you are the person in that lineage who wants to get out,
to break the cycle, it's hard.
I still don't have words for it. Nah. See,
yeah.
So I just got to a place where I realized, and it's from a line I got from a Brazilian writer called Clarice Lispector. And she said, "It is inside me that I must create someone who understands." That liberated me.
I want you to look at that. I think that's your camera. I want you to say that because I want someone listening to this to,
Clarice Lispector has written that it is inside me that I must create someone who understands. As long as I get it, if my dad doesn't, if my wife doesn't, if my friends don't, if I know what it's been like to live in this brain. I know what it's been like my body to be brutalized and burnt, and I'm going to search for help from family, and they're telling me, but that's your father. That's your mom. Even as we were beaten. I know what it's like to feel helpless in a place you're supposed to feel protected. I know what it's like sleeping on bus stops, mob justice, having to steal in supermarkets to survive. I know what it's like to live burning with words in my bones because I'm being told I'm not supposed to speak just because I'm a man. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have to manipulate people to get the upper hand because I'm just living in fear. I know what it's like. And what it took me to heal through that, the trenches were filthy. I can never allow anybody to interfere with the internal peace I have built brick by brick, year in, year out, just because they think, oh, you're gay, oh, a man can't dance, oh, what? Me? No. I'm too expensive for that shit. Yeah, I'm too, no.
How do we get other men to get to here? But while I'm here, I will ask the question I told you I'll ask you out there.
Yeah.
I love your look. I really
Thank
do.
you.
I always have. I think you're so stylish. Yay. I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
But so how, because the problem with our society is that we live in a society where people will look at your external presentation and they will not even hear these valuable words that you're saying right now, right? Because they will just like, put a block based on, but do you have my paint nails? Do you have my vow? Whatever. So how do we get other men who are hurting? Maybe they didn't even grow up in like violent homes, but the system is designed to dehumanize and hurt them. How do we get them to that place where they say, you know what? I'm too expensive. My peace of mind is too expensive. I'm not, because I think there's a danger that some people be like, well, but if being a healthy male means I now have to start painting my nails, it's not for me. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's not in any way a criticism
100%
of you.
100%
Yeah. But so tell me, how do we get other men to this point of healing, of being able to speak, of showing vulnerability, which is so courageous, of like just being like, it's enough that I understand, that I know. It's enough that I understand.
So I'll come back to space.
Okay.
I love space documentaries. Sometimes I wish I was an astronaut.
Your dreams are valid. You still could be.
You know.
You did say you're brilliant and have always been.
And, in my quest to understand what's going on within me and what's going on outside there, Now, we are in the third planet from the sun. The planet Mars, which is amongst the closest planets to us, is actually a whopping 225 million kilometers from us. That's one of the closest planets. The moon, when it's in its full splendor, looks like it's just
here
in Kiamaiko. You know?
Yes.
But it is 384,000 kilometers from us. So already it's an illusion.
1,000 or million?
1,000.
Okay.
384,000 kilometers from us.
I thought it was further.
Yeah. So it looks very near, but it's an illusion. Like your eyes are lying to you that this thing is actually here, but it's really, really far away. Now, that's like, they tell you the solar system is in the Milky Way galaxy, right? If you look at where the solar system is in the Milky Way galaxy, it's barely a ton of salt, or like a peck of salt in the Milky Way galaxy. We are just in some corner.
Kadot.
Like a place, you know. In the Milky Way galaxy is like an impossible field of space. Now they tell you we have 2 trillion galaxies in space, in the observable universe. 2 trillion of, say, other Milky Way galaxies or other galaxies for that matter. 2 trillion. It's mind-boggling. And you know what that tells me? I'm nothing.
You're something and you're nothing.
I'm nothing and everything at the same time.
I agree.
You get that?
Yes,
So,
that I agree with.
So yin yang. So the nothing part is there's no point of me wanting to dominate another person, wanting to make other people feel small, because I am everything. By virtue of me being everything, I have enough. I am heaven. I am abundance. I'm not lacking in emotional resources to, try to abuse someone, make somebody feel like they're not enough or whatever because, I don't know, they are a kehe or those are the crazy things people say out there. It's nothing, really. 2 minutes from now, I'm out of this world. I'm gone. And after do you see how fast people forget when you die? Like you're forgotten. Kũî, I promise you, we will cry.
You better.
Tutakula mchele.
I will otherwise haunt you if you do not cry.
And then we are back to having sex that evening.
I know.
Like you didn't even exist.
For those who drink, yeah.
You didn't exist. So now, and you're here worried about what
people will say.
Some Kiprono who has a faceless account on Twitter is going to say about me. Sajui what? What?
No.
You know? Now, to get closer to your question, it's a multifaceted approach or attempt to get men there. First, you must have that personal conviction that you want a better life for yourself.
Agree.
For
100%.
Yourself. That's
the starting point. I
would say, again, I'm very privileged. I always have to repeat that. They were minimal, but I had some kind of resources to even just access to a book. A book, it's a huge privilege to be able to read and understand and internalize and then say, oh, so this thing can help me change my mind because of what I've read. That's a privilege, And many more people don't have that access, right? And that's why I do what I do. I don't care how many podcasts I go to, but I know there is one guy, 2 guys, 3 guys somewhere who this guy is speaking to me.
Or a mother raising a son.
Who are actually many and they tell me that yo, you've changed how I... And But I'm also doing this for my inner child. That kid who felt so lonely. He felt he was brutalized. He was silenced. He couldn't speak and all that, You have to go back to your pain points as a man.
Go back to your pain points as a man.
And ask yourself, did I like this when this was happening? Can I change that? you know? So now, we are crying. Women want money from men and everything. You should ask yourself, why is that system in place like that? Don't just bicker all over the place. Ask yourself, why is that system like that? Right? There's patriarchy. There's a system that both makes you benefit and also cuts you down at the same time. But the benefits look so enticing to the point that you don't think this is something that should go away, right? So you want to have your cake and eat it, and that is impossible, right? You are a human being like everybody else. You being a man, you're just part of nature, like a tree. Like a tree, like a hyena in the jungle. I swear to God, you're just another piece of nature. You are not higher than any other being. You are sharing the world with everything else in it, right? Now, the privilege we have is that we are humans and we are the ones with consciousness, right? And that there is something XX chromosomes, XY chromosomes. That is just one part of a life force. There are people who are feminine and masculine, and then there's people in between.
Yes.
Just the same way, if you go to a natural forest, there are trees of all sorts of species.
I agree.
Animals, plants, everything is in spectrums. Human beings are not different. Diverse spectrums. Yes. That is what nature is. Yes. Nature actually exists in spectrums, right? Even the men in this room, we look similar in our physical features, but our internal worlds are worlds apart. Yeah. Our voices, our fingerprints, our thoughts, things are different, right? And everybody you're meeting is a world of their own. So you have to put yourself in a place where you have a meeting with your inner you and ask yourself, like, what are these stories that I'm growing up with that are shaping the way I'm looking at myself and by extension, how I'm looking at the world. Yeah. What places, and you see, this is one of the other challenges that men are having. There are barely spaces where men can go to actually ask these questions.
I agree. And I challenge men all the time about this sort of thing. I really do.
You know?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons even those men you're challenging may still not act is they don't know where to start. And there is that space between, I don't know what to do, the fear of failure in a patriarchal world that if a man fails, there are these things, and blah, 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 that put on you.
Yep.
So now, if you don't have the courage to be a bad example.
Back to the bad example. Bad example.
If you don't have the courage to be seen as an outcast. Because all these men you look up to many times, many of them are outcasts from where they're from. Like in the Christianity, they were saying a prophet isn't what? Welcome in his own home. Right? The freedom fighters we know, they were outcasts. The people who've really innovated in this world to make us have these carbs and electricity, and many of them are outcasts, right? So you must understand culture was made by man, not man by culture.
Yeah.
So
agree.
We are malleable.
And culture is dynamic. It
and
changes.
Even within the same subsections of those cultures, they are always dynamic from home to home, village to village. Yeah. Things go on changing. And that is what nature also is, right? So if you're, for example, in Luo, they have this crazy thing that if you are an unmarried woman, like a single woman, and you die before you're married, you're not buried within your father's home.
I think I've heard this. You're buried like at the gate or something.
Yeah, you're called amigo. Migogo is the word, right? Now, if you become a father to girls and you happen to lose a child, before they were married. If you're talking about change, then you must offer your child that high honor, like every other child in that home, and bury them inside the home. You must
dare to be different.
You have to dare, because without that, you always just be conforming, and you'll keep complaining about how bad things are in the world and the government and everything. But in your backyard, you're doing the same things this system is teaching you. See? So I tell guys, like, before we think of gender relations and government, even just the other day, we were in the protests. And, as an artist, my work is, James Baldwin once said that if I love you, I have to tell you things you don't know or things you can't see. I have to show you things you can't see. So police will brutalize you. We were out in the streets. It's really charged and whatnot. People are dying. They're being shot down. And we are obviously, and rightfully so, protesting against government oppression and misuse of taxes, the whole shebang. And we'll go out and we'll shout before cameras and fight with those water cannons and kukurukakara. But when we are going back home, we are still raping women.
Yeah.
And we are still beating up our wives.
Yeah.
And we are controlling our partners' bodies. Make it make sense. Come on. We are brutalizing kids. Hey, which change are we talking about? Those people at the top know us. They know, any jokes too. They know. Because if the change cannot be felt from the roots, grassroots, in the community level, with our cultures and how we are looking at each other, it can never happen up there. Forget it. Forget it. See? That Ubuntu spirit, that Africanness we keep bragging about, where is it in our community engagements and how we treat each other? If a person with disability cannot access a clinic, they can't get reproductive services, simple as that. You're just comfortable because you're able-bodied. You think, my life is good. This person cannot enter a matatu, or they're being hurried, or they have a disabled child, which could be you tomorrow, but you don't think of them. Come on. See? So if you mean to want to live a full life, first of all, you must stop merely identifying as a man first. The life force within you, Kũî, is not female or male. It's just a life force. The way it is in an ant, the way it is in a plant, it's a life force. It takes different forms. So there are plants, there are people, there are animals, there are mountains. All of them are actually elements of the same life force. You start from there, right? And you're like, what does this life force mean? What do I feel about how I want to live my life? And I'm saying this especially for people who may not have resources around, like books and documentaries, like YouTube or whatever. There are people who still don't have access to that, But then maybe you come across this podcast somewhere or whatever. You yourself would not like somebody to violate you. So don't violate another person. As a child, there's a way you are being treated that made you feel bad. Don't do it to your children. As a partner, as you grew up watching your mother being victimized and beaten up and sometimes even killed, don't do it to your wife. Don't do it. I'd rather you say, I don't know, or I feel this anger that makes me want to beat someone. When I'm doing the male workshops, those guys say the most outrageous things, and I allow them to say them because they are not allowed to do that on Twitter. Yeah, the lolos of this world will kill them. You know, so I allow them to say those crazy things, and then we interrogate from there. No, like you say these crazy things. There was one time some guy woke up and said he didn't believe it was possible. Trigger warning. He didn't believe it was possible for one man to rape one woman. Like he didn't see how a woman would allow a man to do that to her. You know, and in that space we had a social worker. This was Kibra, and he told the guy, actually, these are the majority of cases we're experiencing at our office. And the guy was like, I've genuinely learned something today. Yeah. So the other day when I was sharing that story, somebody also put in a new perspective to me. And he was like, this guy probably was reporting himself.
Yes, I thought that.
You know?
I actually thought that, yeah.
And I'm like, don't expect the world to be kind to you if you're going out there harming people. It won't work. Forget about it. I like
that. I do want us to start wrapping things up.
Okay.
But,
oh my God.
So in fact, I'm sure your tea has gone cold now. Some of the key points I'm hearing from you, because I do want any listener who comes across this podcast to kind of go away with, okay, I think I have an idea of someone who's wanting to make a change, yeah? I want them to walk away from this feeling, okay, I think I have an idea of how to start, right? So one thing I heard, I'll just paraphrase the points I picked from you. One is, it has to start from within. You have to have a personal conviction that actually I want to live life differently. This thing, it's not working. It's not working for me. I don't see it working for those before me, those who are coming after me. And I am making a personal choice that I want things to be different for me. So that's the first thing, personal conviction. And then you have to now start doing some introspection. Because, you can also say, okay, this thing is not working, but even though kuko too, So there's the personal conviction. And then that needs to be followed with some level of introspection. Like you start asking questions, you start being curious. It's a curiosity of self. Why do I think this? Why do I believe this to be true? Why do I believe this to be correct? So why is it that as a man I have to show up in this way in society? So you start with some introspection. And then you also need to find whatever your support system will be. Now that could either look like friends, healthy male friends with whom you have a healthy friendship. It could look like sport. You talked about football. It could look like art. It sounds like art has really been healing and saving for you. Not just your own art, but the art that other people are doing, whether it's in their music, it's in their writing. So it feels like even for that person out there, male or female, who's like, this thing is not working, but I don't even like. Oh, and wait, and you said about you do actually male workshops. Before we wrap up, I would want to like for you to tell our listeners about that, right? And how they can access that. But so for someone out there who's thinking, the way I'm living right now, it's just not working and I want something different. Do you feel like that is a good starting point?
Yeah, plus start being comfortable with the idea of being rejected.
Yes, that's a powerful one. That I have to admit, that is one I have had to live myself. Yeah. And that is one I have had to embrace. Because the minute you start doing things differently, the minute you start questioning things, you are bound to get rejection. You are bound to be looked at differently. You're bound to be shunned. And you just have to be comfortable with that and be okay with that. Because what I have found in my own experience is the universe then aligns you with your people. Like perhaps your people will not be from within your inner circle, your family. So the minute you're like, you know what, I'm okay with this, somehow the universe starts aligning you with people who think like you, who reason like you, who act like you. Like your scope broadens, you know? So and I think you've had that experience as well. So
yeah,
for sure.
You know, when my mother realized that I had pierced my ears, man, like it was like like the world had ended. The world had ended, and I want to be a woman. And what happened to the God I used to pray and whatnot. So to add insult to injury, I went on and, painted my nails.
Yes.
And of course, it's very political, and it goes against all modes of parenting she ever knew. A firstborn son. Like I have just broken everything there was to imagine about who a child was supposed to be. But then I sleep so well at night, man.
And that is priceless.
I have problems, but then I'm a very happy person because I survived what I had to survive. And even when I'm speaking to men, even now that you've asked about the workshop,
yes,
I tell men, you have to define yourself for yourself. You don't have to and I know it's a very human instinct to want to have a sense of belonging. Many times we are trying to seek for this belonging from people who are not willing to see us. They're not willing. So you have to be very courageous. And it's going to take some years of loneliness, that's for sure. And you'll be in the wilderness for a while before the community comes and finds you.
100%.
And it's just going to be wavy, like, okay, their friendships are going to go. Some will come, then they won't stay enough or long enough, then, and you're also going in and out of other people's lives,
Yes,
That's just the reality they didn't prepare us for. Yeah. But then that internal compass is your guiding light, if you don't get to connect to that thing before you are told your name, before you are told you belong to a religion, if you don't connect to that thing that you feel as a person, before you say you're a man, before you're a man, you're something else.
Something else.
You
that
are
inner
the thing there. That's what I teach in these workshops. Okay. Forget that you have a penis. Forget that your voice, you sounds how, your body looks how. No, there's that thing inside. Let's play with it. What does it say? Who is in there? And I'm telling you, men are very deep people. They're very deep people. They are amazing human beings. They are wonderful things, I'm telling you. And, many times these workshops are self-funded, and this is why, doing them is sometimes really difficult. So whenever I can and I have resources, so they are quite irregular. That's because of the resource issue. But I'll tell you for sure, many times these guys come, they're strangers in the morning. When it's evening, they don't want to leave. And they've gained new friendships and they want to connect and they want to say all these things. They want to go. I realize just how few safe spaces exist for men. For the longest time, how they've been handling it is over-relying on women for that emotional labor. It's unsustainable. And even right now, WHO released some new statistics on mental health. And it is seen that women are 50% more depressed, actually, than men, for obvious reasons. Patriarchal world again, violence against women, all those things, even though men are still having higher suicide rates. So are we as strong as we purport to be? I doubt it. These roles that we've been given, I didn't come here to play out roles, And of course, love by design would want me to offer resources to the people around me. I would want to provide this in different spectrums. I would want to protect things I love. That's natural. Women provide, women also protect. Women do all those things that men are being told are their roles. They do them because actually they are human things to do to people you love. Not just as a job that you're doing and your heart is far removed from these people. No. So let's remove these things that are now in just pop culture as well and in our indigenous cultures as well around who men are supposed to be, who women are supposed to be. Because in between there are people who don't identify as either. And they are people. They also deserve to be here. We must change like have a whole overhaul about how we are approaching identities. But it's also to offer hope to the men who are struggling with identity out there. By virtue of you being here, you deserve every good thing to happen to you. You deserve safe spaces. You deserve to ask questions. It's okay to make mistakes. Because I also say, like, I didn't just appear from a vacuum. You know, I had my years of not being very good to even like my partners before. Today, now I'm being accused of being gay. Yeah, I really love women, man. And I'm okay with that. Like, I have a lot of gay friends. And for me, if I'm not thinking of an inclusive world, I must know then there'll be no place for me.
And I think part of the reason I feel you're very okay with pushback is because your internal compass is very solid. And you've done a lot of work over the years to solidify and ground that. So that's why even it doesn't matter what noise comes from outside, you're centered and solid. And I found that to be my experience too. As I said before, I used to in many ways consider myself the black sheep. I no longer consider myself that. I do not conform by any means of the imagination. I just shifted even the language I was using for myself. I'm like, no, I'm not a black sheep. I'm a black lioness, you know, and like, see what I have to offer the world. My God, if I deemed myself, what a loss to the world.
What a loss.
What a loss.
We wouldn't be here.
We wouldn't even be here. So I think that thing that you're saying to every man out there, like center yourself, start from within, center yourself, do the introspection, have conviction that you want things to be different, you know, center yourself, introspect. And I really liked what you said earlier, something about the pain points. I even wrote it down. Yes, go back to your pain points. Because I think a lot of us, we're looking for healing, but we're not going back to like those pain points to be like, okay, and I didn't like that. And no, things need to be different, you know? So go back to your pain points. And I think that introspection also helps you do that.
Yeah.
So that eventually things can be better, not just for men or women. You know, we always pose it as if it's either or, but things can be better for all of us, men, women, boys, girls, those who don't identify with any of those two binaries, you know, because as I've said before, I want my nephews to live in a kinder world, in a better world for them. My nephews and nieces, right? I'm just like, this thing we're doing now, when they're my age, truly, this cannot be it.
Yeah.
And if my little contribution is I have a podcast where I bring a brilliant, amazing person like yourself to have this conversation, then I'm okay.
Yeah.
It was my little contribution to the, you know, to the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I do want us to wrap up, but before we do, two things. Give me your parting shot, and then I want you to tell our listeners how they can engage with you or get in touch with you. First, let's start with how they can get in touch with you, and then give me a strong parting shot.
Well,
you said you're brilliant. See, now you've set your bar so high, so it just has to be a strong one.
I don't fear being put on the spot. Now, I'm available on Facebook, X now, as Rick's Poet or Onyango Otieno. My bald head will be there, very easy to find. Same as Instagram as well. Some of the things you see there could be shocking, but I love you guys. LinkedIn, I'm a bit more serious over there. I talk more about the work I do. And parting shot, really, I'm just mirroring on the words I shared from Clarice Lispector. You have to go inside your waters, go to the depths, get to your ocean bed, and see what's happening there. There's a lot of debris you've carried in your life that are from places you have no business going. People who don't really like you, care about you, or love you. And you have personified that debris to be your nature. That's not your world. Create your world. 15 years ago, I didn't think I'd have painted nails, but here I am. Tomorrow, maybe I'll go for the nose ring. I don't know, but I'm allowing myself to keep growing and changing. A man is not one thing, if that would be a parting shot. A man can be many things.
I love that. A man can be many things. And what I love even more, when we were talking, at some point we had a conversation before this podcast, you said to me when you started this journey, you could not find any Kenyan or African like role models, right? Like you had to, I think, read some stuff from the US and stuff like that. Yeah. I wonder if you realize you have become that. You have become a role model to your younger, your younger self. So a younger man who'll be looking for a different way of living or a different path, you have become that for them.
Toni Morrison did that for me.
Toni Morrison, that's the name I was trying to remember. Yeah. You said Toni Morrison did that for you because you could not find anything from like around or within. So you are now looking in the US. And
she said that if there's a book you've always wanted to read and it's not there, write it.
Yes.
So correct. I want there to be voices in the media of men who spoke up, like the way James Baldwin spoke up, the way Fela Kuti spoke up, the way we had brilliant African men who did the emotion. My grandfather included, my maternal grandfather included, who embodied a different masculinity, and they did not cave into that violent, aggressive demeanors that men are sold to. There's a place for aggression. Like if you find me in the football field, I'm not the same guy. I promise you. But that I know where to take it. Yes. And again, and this is why green spaces are very important and spaces of recreation are very important. So capitalism and patriarchy, stealing that away from you, almost leaves you with no option than to remove this aggression on the people around you who you've been taught are weaker than you. That's what's killing us. So if it's multilateral and it's, intersectional, it's not, we might also just be doing that work, but then the systems around you are actually made to keep cutting you down. Yeah. It's very, very hard. Yeah. And that's why organizing is very important, and community. I would not be here without my friends. Yeah. I'm not just Rix just because. Yeah. I'm here because people took a chance and looked at me as a person, and they were like, I will hold your hand. Yeah. So by extension, I say with my gifts, I'll hold other people's hands, those I can in my real life, and those I just reach through platforms like these. Okay.
You're paying it forward.
I am paying it forward.
And shout out to Rix's male friends, like you guys, please, we need more of you. We need more men who believe in healthy friendships, who it is okay to be vulnerable. You can sit in a circle and ask yourselves, how are you? Like, just how are you? I love that for you. Thank you so much, Rix, for taking your time, for the honesty, for the vulnerability. I feel like we might need to bring you on for a whole other podcast. I just feel like those, we script the surface. Yes. So thank you so, so much for your courage, not just here. I have seen your courage on social media, and I'm just like, and I'm so glad we were able to do something together, because I've been admiring you from a distance for long, and I'm like, him and I, we need to do something together. Yeah. And then, this has happened. The universe has brought us together, and I love that for both of us. So thank you for your courage, for your time, for your vulnerability, for your honesty, for your words, for the language that you have given us here today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
My dear listener, I want to bring this to a wrap now. If today's conversation or today's episode moved you or you resonated with it, please share it with a friend or a family member or anyone else who you feel might benefit from it. If you want to continue journeying with us, you can find Conversations with Kũî from wherever you get your podcasts from and on YouTube for the full video episode. You can also follow us and engage with us on our social media platforms, which are listed in the podcast description. And we'll also be sure to list Onyango's social media handles in the podcast description as well. Until next time, stay well, and may we all find courage in vulnerability.